Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic / Non-Classic. This is episode number 1164 and Doubleshot number 1058. I got one DC trade and one trade that's published via IDW from a character that I've never reviewed before. I have discussed him once in a movie review, but I'll discuss who he is in a bit after I discuss this trade. First up, we have Trinity, Volume 3, Dark Destiny. Yes, as you can see in the cover, we have the Magical Trinity, which is comprised of Santana in a brief Flashpoint attire, John Constantine, and Deadman. This book collects issues 12 to 16 and the annual for Trinity. Now, the book itself, unlike the first 11 issues, which are mostly written by Francis Manifold, he has left the series. Yeah, I've never heard of a reason why he left the series. He did. I mean, this is a series he started, and then he left at this book around for like barely a year. Now, the book itself for these issues are written by Rob Williams, who only does this arc. He doesn't do the remaining issues of the series. That's different writer altogether. The artwork here is done by V. Ken Marron and Gilliam March. A lot of you probably are familiar with Gilliam March thanks to this artist. I think it's a man. I think it is. The artwork on Catwoman. Yep, this is the artist who drew Catwoman. Yeah, the cover art for the trade is done by Clay Mann and Tomoru Mori. Yep. Now the annual itself is, well, it's basically you have a spotlight on the Dark Trinity, on the Evil Trinity. They've also referred to people as the Dark Trinity, but I've heard them as the Evil Trinity, which is comprised of Lex Luthor, Ra's al Ghul, and Cersei the Sorceress. Yep. Now I get Lex and Cersei. Fine. Lex is a well-known, well-established Superman villain, but it's interesting though that we have Ra's part of this group. Yes. I would have thought, though, they would have had some other character who was associated with Batman, but why Ra's? That doesn't make much sense. I mean, you have a sorceress, an immortal, and a businessman. That's who comprises this group. And for Lex, this is during the period of time where he supposedly is acting as a good guy. Yes, that was something that was going on in the Superman books, where he was wearing the S symbol on his chest as part of his elite, basically a tribute to his respect for Superman. Yep. Now, the annual itself is called Tied Together, which is basically a lot of focus and set up for basically the heroic Trinity is encountered with the evil Trinity. Yep. And like there's some strange cult stuff. Yeah, basically this annual has the appearance by the old character created by Jack the King Kirby, Etrigan Demon. Yeah, Jason Blood's here as well because why not? And apparently the story in this one is that Etrigan and Jason have been separated. So yeah, they were separated by the Dark Trinity. Well, the Evil Trinity, that mind you, yes. They were separated and, well, Jason Blood is now an extremely old man. And that's a story for this annual. And mostly put the Trinity fighting Etrigan, and then they cast a spell to basically reunite Jason Blood with Etrigan. That's why I think he was freed. I mean, the story for Etrigan is that Etrigan and Jason Blood have been tied together since Camelot. No joke. That is his backstory. And, yeah. Eventually, thanks to the combination of thanks to various spells, they're reunited. And then they have their encounter with the Evil Trinity, though Jason Blood's back normal. And, well, and then we set up an encounter with the actual Dark Trinity. We have the Trinity from Red Hood and the Outlaws, Red Hood, Artemis, and Bizarro. Yep. Now, the main book, first we cut to Gotham City, where we see John Constantine. You know it's him? Trench coat and smoking a cigarette. And then we see appearance by the smoking hot Santana. Yep. And then a football player shows up. Like, what? What the heck is a football player doing here? Even Santana's like, okay. And it turns out just dead man. Yep, that was kind of funny. And the whole story for Dark Destiny is, well, the Dark Trinity have been possessed by demons, and they're basically trying to free him. And it's an interesting team-up story between the two of them. At one point, you have Superman opening up Red Hood's mask like it's a freaking portal. Yeah, like, okay. Well, I'll be possessed by a demon, why not? Yeah, and the whole storyline is simply put, the four Trinities basically fighting each other. Well, mostly anyways. Yeah. But that's the main gist of the story is, well, them basically trying to deal with, well, the possession while also taking on the Dark Trinity. Yeah. It's a very good storyline. And I should point out, though, that even though Zatanna appears here in her pre-Flashpoint look, she also did inside the comics as well. When she shows up in Justice League Dark, she is with a brand new costume. For no reason. For some, I have no idea why. Yeah. Eventually, by the end of the storyline, thanks to a lot of conflict, eventually, of course, the Trinity themselves are basically freed. The Red and the Outlaws are freed the possession, and they team up with the heroic Trinity to take on Cersei and her group. Yep. Then Cersei forms this giant monster, and then the group, the evil Trinity, basically breaks up because, well, Roz comes behind her and stabs her in the back. Yeah, Lex already left the group prior to this. It's kind of strange to why he left. And then, of course, well, the storyline ends with, well, Cersei falling into like a pool of water, possibly Lazarus pit, and then Wonder Woman jumping after her, and then having the three Trinities basically try to pull up. And that's how the story ends. I'm like, really? Like, you don't show them come out of the water? It's kind of strange how this thing ends. How that story ends. Yeah, then we have a standalone story called Old Acquaintance. This story is basically is followed up from an issue of Suicide Squad, which Rob Williams also was writing at the same time he wrote the storyline. He wrote this book. Yep. And pretty much the story is that Batman's working with Deadshot to look for Deadshot's daughter Zoe, she's been held captive by Cobra. And Lawton's been given 48 hours leave to deal with this. Yeah, that's basically... Yeah, and it says Waller owed him a favor because what happened Suicide Squad 23. Yeah, for some reason, I'm not really sure why the heck Rob Williams would think this. That Batman is a superhuman. Yeah. That I thought was quite strange. Yeah, for some reason, Waller sent the Suicide Squad to Batman because he was superhuman. Heck, Scott Snyder later himself came on and said, no, that's bullcrap. He is not superhuman. Yeah, he just proved that. Yeah. But it's a nice story, and I thoroughly enjoyed reading it. It's a great action-packed story, though it kind of ends basically abruptly. It's like, yeah, they don't exactly find Zoe, but they do take down some members of Cobra. Yeah, great story. I give this book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. Great book. And, well, can't wait to get the final book. But I can't get the final book because at the time when I checked out from this app, Hippolyta, I had reached the limit. Yep. So, probably won't get a chance to review the final trade for this particular series until next month. Yep. No joke. That's seriously true. And now, once I get this up here on my phone, I'll discuss my new trade series I'm going to review. Starting this episode, but it won't come as often as, let's say, some other trades. This is a review of, if I can get the page here. Here we go. We have the first volume of Judge Dredd Case Files, Volume 1. This collects Prague, 2000 AD prongs 2 through 60. Now, those of you curious about Judge Dredd. Now, people have probably heard of the character thanks to 2 live-action films that came out. One in 1995 starring Sylvester Stallone, a guy who could keep his helmet on for 15 minutes, and the other one starring Carl Urban in 2012, simply called Dredd. By the way, that one is better than the original one. Though that one is hilariously bad, though Dredd is a heck of a lot better and much more close to source material. And you probably look at the Dredd outfit from this appearance here. He looks pretty thin. The outfit looks kind of similar to how it looks in 2012. Now, I heard the reason why that the outfit looks similar than it did, let's say, in the 95 version, because it looked more of a realistic look. Now you're probably thinking, Prong, what the heck is Prong? Now, this is publicly Rebellion. Prong is, simply put, what the British call an issue of a weekly series. Yeah, Judge Dredd made his first appearance in 2000 AD, number 2, back in 1977, which, by the way, 3 years ago was his 40th anniversary. Yep. And in the first issue, not only Dredd appears, but also his signature motorcycle, which he still has today. Yep. And this look for Dredd, as far as I can tell, this is not his current look. His current look, he's a lot more beefier, and he's a lot older too. This is basically young Dredd during the first year of his publication. Yeah. Mostly put for these early stories. Now, this is done by the original creators of the book, John Wagner, he did many of the stories. He did the original story, along with Carlos Esquire. Yeah. This guy was the one who designed Dredd's signature look. Yes. Yeah. This look Dredd had, if you take a clear look outside for the glare, yeah. You probably look at this, wait, why the heck is this book in black and white? That's how it was originally published. Yes. From what I can tell, this is how original was published. Now, currently, the book is published in color. But back then, published in black and white. Now, this is the first of 34 volumes for Dredd. For Case Files. Yes. Now, 2080 is something common with the Detective Comics. It's an anthology book. Dredd is the lead feature of the book. Now, I did hear basically a very particularly interesting story about this series. Is that Dredd was originally supposed to feature in the first issue. But his story wasn't ready in time, so they featured a different character in the first issue, who actually is canon, by the way. Yeah. The whole futuristic thing about Dredd is that Dredd is sort of, simply put, his series is sort of a British satire of America, where it's set in the future. Oh yeah, and also he does this whole signature thing where he shoots people with his special gun, which can change bullets whenever it wants to. And I did also hear an interesting story about Dredd's helmet. Now, those of you curious still, did Dredd ever remove his helmet, let's say, in his early issues? He did, but it was censored. Now, I have heard the reason why Dredd never takes off his helmet. Apparently, it was all the artist's idea for doing that. Yes, he insisted that the helmet must stay on because it's part of his look. Yeah. And the first story, believe it or not, for Dredd is only just 1, 2, 3, 4, only about 5 pages. Over time, from what I can tell for these stories, they get pretty long. I think the highest it may go is about 15 pages. But this is basically an anthology book. And Dredd's, let's say, his appearance does slightly change over time. And his motorcycle itself doesn't really change all that much. But yeah, he still has his lawmaker, his signature weapon. And the attire is pretty much mostly the same, except it's got more bulkier over time. And they changed his eyes too in a later story. Yeah, he got cybernetic eyes. Yeah, I haven't read that story yet, but yeah. But these are all really interesting stories when it comes to Dredd. Now, when it comes to Dredd, aside from himself and the fact you have Mega City 1 here, with him dealing with a bunch of random, like, let's just say thugs, for example. Yeah. Sometimes, basically, this book will include the color pages from 2000 AD. Like, here's one right here. Yeah, occasionally they will include that, but not all the time. So, when you're reading this half the time, you're probably thinking, though, what chapter am I on of 2000 AD? The answer, don't know. Occasionally it does pop up, like, yeah. Like, in this story here, like, mostly he deals with, like, low-level street thugs. That's probably what the John Wagner wanted to do at the start. Though here, he's fighting a King Kong monster. Yeah, name Krong. Yeah, I think he fights him for like one, at least a couple stories. Occasionally, from what I can tell, they do have multiplayer. It's like that nowadays too. But in these stories, only Dredd himself appears. There's no other familiar characters. There's no the Caligula character. His brother's not here as well. The stuff basically Dredd is known for is not, aside from his appearance, like the other characters, they don't appear in these issues. This is like year one Dredd. Not the year one Dredd comic promotional IDW. This is basically first issue publication. And at one point in these stories, his badge is stripped from him, though it's later come back. There's also mention about the Cursed Earth. The Cursed Earth, for what I can tell, is a post-apocalyptic wasteland, which was the United States of America. Mega City 1 is simply put a big one conglomerate city that makes up pretty much the east coast of the United States of America. Mega City 2 is the west coast. There's also a Soviet version of Mega City 1, and I think there's some cities in Europe, but that's it. Yeah, and the whole thing with Mega City 1 is that it's simply put this humongous city. There's always these block wars. Yeah, they mentioned that in the live action film for Dredd, where there's always people fighting over various blocks because of the overpopulation of Mega City 1. That's indeed true when it comes to the book. Here, there's no mention of it early on, but that's how Mega City 1 is. It's been developed slowly over the course of the past 43 years. Yeah. These early appearances are okay. Nothing really much right home about, but I thoroughly enjoyed reading them, and they're a fun set of stories to read. Yeah, when Dredd briefly stripped his identity as a judge, he simply just called himself simply Joe Dredd, because his real name is Joseph Dredd. Yeah, that's his first name, Joseph. And the strange things about Dredd explained later. I'm not going to spoil what those things is about Dredd's revelations. I might do it later date, but yeah. But mostly, a lot of these stories are, like I said, standalone stories, self-contained, and yeah. We also kind of the first appearance of the Chief Judge. Yeah, this is how the Chief Judge normally looks. Yeah, his appearance is simple, kind of like the regular judge look, except he's got a big eagle on him, on his chest. Yeah, all the chief judges have got that. As a matter of fact, the last two judges had it too. Like, one of the judges was actually one of Judge Dredd's old partners, who was a woman, who, if you saw the 1995 film, they became a couple. Now, in the comics, for what I've heard, romance is forbidden between judges. Yeah, I'm not really sure why this is. Yeah, and that's simply how Judge Dredd acts. He's probably by far one of the most well-respected judges, and people do know who he is, just by appearance. So yeah. And then eventually, by the next couple stories, he eventually is given the badge back and reinstated. And at first he was smiling, and then he got reinstated. And it's like, basically back to business. And of course, he also appears to deal with robots. Yeah, a lot of really interesting stuff when you read about Judge Dredd. Yeah. But not much right home about when it comes to the early Dredd stuff. Not the exciting stuff, basically, I've read about. But that happens later on. But this is like early Dredd. Yeah, a lot of like really good action-packed stories here. Like, here's a color page of the Chief Judge. Yeah, that's him. That's the Chief Judge. The guy with the big eagle on his chest. With a big J. Yeah, that's the Chief Judge. And any Chief Judge would dress like this. I'm not going to show this page here because, well, there's kind of a reason for that, because it's just, well, Dredd basically had a bunch of heads sticking up on the ground. Yeah, this is also a mafia tactic. Yeah. The thing with the judges is they're pretty much kind of like, the judges are simply a combination of regular judges and policemen. They can pretty much judge people on the spot and convict them on the spot. And like when they convict, they either have characters be sentenced to death, basically shooting them in the head, or put them in a cube. Yes, an actual cube. Not a tiny cube, basically a cube-shaped box. And they would be in this box for many years. We also did have the first appearance of Lunar 1. Yes, Lunar 1 is simply put a prison colony. It's a colony on the moon. Yeah. That does make its first appearance in these stories. Yeah, aside from like that, I can't think of anything else making first appearance in these stories here. Yeah, but interesting stuff when it comes to Dredd. I mean, I like Judge Dredd. Great character. Like, I personally just cannot wait to review, or at least read the stories like that I read about online. The interesting stuff, but I haven't got there just yet. I'm still like early Judge Dredd. I'm going to get this book roughly a 9 out of 10. I do recommend basically if you're fans of Judge Dredd, do start here, but if you are already excited up, try to find out exactly where these books are. Like, yeah, some of the other stories are just so weird. Like at one point, Mega City 1 was actually surrounded by an actual freaking wall. Yeah. But not much else to say about this book. It's good. Can't wait to read more. But next time on Corner, 2 physical books, definitely. Though one of the books basically is a really thick one. Okay, so that's it for this particular review. My next review is going to be a review of Barto. Okay, and yes, the One Piece and Black Clover, yeah, those new chapters were released today. Okay, but this next video, I'll hopefully review this today. Okay, bye.